Now let's talk about Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers. There's an unauthorized biography on the Jets quarterback out next week. It's called Out of the Darkness, The Mystery of Aaron Rodgers. The book, written by one of the nation's great columnists, the one and only Ian O'Connor, is based on interviews with 250 people, including Rodgers himself, and delves into aspects other than football of the quarterback's life, including the long estrangement from his family and his introduction to using ayahuasca. I think that's how it's pronounced, ayahuasca. Rodgers says he regrets not being truthful when he told reporters in 2021 he was, quote unquote, immunized against the COVID-19 vaccine and then tested positive for COVID-19 3 months later and had to be sidelined for 10 days. As for the book, though, here's what the Jets quarterback had to say about the manuscript on the Boomer and Geo show on WFAN.
This Ian O'Connor book, was this an authorized or not authorized biography by you?
That's a rhetorical question.
Okay.
Is it not?
I guess. I don't know.
It's hard to tell.
I can't. I honestly, I swear to you, I was looking up this. I couldn't figure it out because there were quotes in there. So it looked like you gave your blessing. But then on the other hand, it looked like there was stuff in there that you didn't want to be in there. So I was confused. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to ask him as opposed to look up the answer on the internet.
He did a lot of research. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
But he did a lot of research on his own. He's done other books with other famous people in sports. I think he reached out to 500 people and talked to maybe half those people. At the end, before, although he'd already written, I believe, a first draft, we had a conversation and sat down. It was more just kind of him asking a few things. A lot of the stuff that was in there, I mean, is 20 plus years old. And I commend him for the time he spent on it, but it's not a book that I asked him to write for me. He wrote it on his own.
No. I have to confess, I have mixed emotions about this. And I'm bringing the subject up, number one, because it's Aaron Rodgers. Number two, that's somebody that I'd love to interview. He usually appears on Pat McAfee's show for ESPN. That's his guy. But I'd love to interview Aaron Rodgers one of these days because, I'm the one that coined the phrase, he's a bad man, because he is. The brother special. I thought before Patrick Mahomes arrived and won in the fashion that he's won over the last few years, that as a talent, Aaron Rodgers was the greatest quarterback I've ever seen in my life. That includes Dan Marino, Dan Fouts, Terry Bradshaw, Roger Staubach, Fran Tarkenton, the list goes on and on. The Warren Moons throughout the world, the Randall Cunninghams throughout the world, the Donovan McNabbs throughout the world, the Tom Brady's, Peyton Mannings of the world, everybody. As a talent, meaning your ability to throw, not just standing still stationary, but throwing on the run, your ability to run with the football, etc., the accuracy, the precision, the excellence. I thought until Patrick Mahomes arrived, there was no debate that Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen in my life. He is that gifted. He is that special. And the only thing that I've ever had an issue with him with, I've always been a huge fan. The only thing I've ever had an issue with Aaron Rodgers was him saying he was immunized during COVID-19, as opposed to just being honest and up front and being like, yo, man, I don't believe in the vaccine, like Kyrie Irving was. Kyrie Irving was honest, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't. That's the only criticism that I've ever really given him, outside only scoring 10 points in a playoff game at Lambeau Field playing for the Green Bay Packers against San Francisco 49ers a couple of years ago. When I see this particular story, I'm torn. Ian O'Connor, one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet, by the way. Class personified. One of the greatest writers I have ever seen. Ian O'Connor is a spectacular talent as a writer. Spectacular. He just is. And if you want somebody to write something on you, you want it to be Ian O'Connor. When you think about the top 5 people, the great Mike Wilbons of the world, the people like, I remember Bill Lyon, formerly of the Philadelphia Inquirer, got arrested. So this dude was phenomenal. One of just poetry in motion. I mean, there are certain writers that are just absolutely positively spectacular. And I just gave you 3 of them. Ian O'Connor is one of those people. He's special. He's decent. He's a good person. He's a consummate professional. He's thorough. He's all of that. So go get the book just because of him. Just because of him. My issue is that I'm one of those people, I've never, ever had a desire to write a biography that was unauthorized. Like, everybody knows how tight I am with Allen Iverson. Everybody knows that I covered him for years. And I know things about him that most people don't know, just like I know things about Kobe Bryant that most people wouldn't know, God rest his soul. Just like I know things about Shaq and others. They know better. I would never, ever write anything in terms of a book that's unauthorized. Me talking about what you're making news for or your performance on the field or something like that is entirely different than me getting all into your personal business. I got to be authorized to do something like that. So I'm not down with that. That's just me. I'm not knocking Ian O'Connor or anybody else, but that's just me. I'm not down with that. And Aaron Rodgers, to his credit, didn't excoriate or disrespect Ian O'Connor in any way. He just simply did his homework, talked about his grandfather, talked about his family members, all this other stuff, interviewed about half of the 500 people he reached out to. Aaron Rodgers was aware of this. Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem to have much of a problem with it. Fair enough. That's just not me. If it ain't authorized, I'm not writing about somebody's personal life without having the authorization. That's just me. The other side to it, I don't know much about Aaron Rodgers' family because I don't know it on purpose. I don't want to know. That's his business. I remember years ago I got pissed off because his brother was on The Bachelor, I think. Either The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, I don't remember. But all I remembered was his brother talking about him negatively. And I'm like, what nerves? Who the hell was thinking about you? So you going to use it as, because if you ain't Aaron Rodgers' brothers, you probably wouldn't have been on the damn show. And then to come on the show and to be talking about your brother like that's pretty jacked up. Now everybody different. Let me tell you a little something about Stephen A. Smith here. I got 4 older sisters. I got 15 nieces and nephews. I got 2 daughters. And contrary to what some may think, I have pretty much nothing to hide. I don't give a shit. Anybody, and I mean anybody, that talks about my personal business in an unauthorized fashion is cut the hell off. I don't give a shit who you are. You a girlfriend, ex or present, you out. You one of my sisters, got nothing to say. One of my nieces and nephews, they know better. Now, I will confess, a little bit different when it comes to your daughters. Because it's your daughters. But even that's pushing it. I don't play that. I don't play that at all. Because you know what Stephen A. not going to do? I'm not going to talk about other people's personal business like that in a public forum. I'm not doing that. You know, you rapping to somebody privately and a few words come out or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a book. Talk about interviews. You talking about people, personal stuff. Nah, I ain't doing that. See, we live in a world where the code has evaporated. Why you think I got so pissed when Steven Jackson, for all the smoke, associated me with that word snitch because of the whole Russell Westbrook nonsense during the playoffs when I had to call the league office? Because that's some stuff I don't do to nobody. Nobody. I don't play that. And to me, people who are comfortable doing that, it's just an uncomfortable feeling. I'm not talking about Ian O'Connor here because obviously he went to Aaron Rodgers. You know, Aaron Rodgers didn't ask him. He said, I didn't ask him to do it, but it's like he forbid him to do it, and Ian O'Connor kept doing it. So let's be fair to Ian O'Connor here. But I'm just using this as an opportunity to talk about a general principle that I think has been vastly ignored. You know, even in the workplace. There's stuff that happens in the workplace. Right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Right there on First Take. NBA Countdown, all that other stuff. Ain't nothing to hide. It just ain't none of your damn business. And the second I'm working with someone, for someone, or somebody rolling in my inner circle, and they go out there running their damn mouth, persona non grata. It's not an accident why you don't hear much inside info about me. Because people know. You try that shit with me, ain't going to end well.